Broadcasting live from the IRSMedic studios, it's Parental Advisory. And thanks for joining us on Parental Advisory. Anthony, we're here today to talk about a couple things. American Citizens Abroad is a really great organization, a nonprofit organization who's not paying us. We just really like them. We'd been talking a while ago about doing perhaps a podcast about all these people living and working overseas, expats, and they're having such a difficult time getting bank accounts, doing business with foreign financial institutions for a myriad of reasons. And we were considering compiling a list of banks that were sort of expat friendly.
That's right.
And then I was watching an American Citizens Abroad video on YouTube about residence-based taxation, which is going to be a whole nother podcast, and contacted them. We spoke directly with Charles Bruce, who was so wonderful and helpful. And he filled us in on a lot of details about a new service, the SDFCU, State Department Federal Credit Union. But first, I wanted to touch on, so people understand what American Citizens Abroad is and why they even exist. And I know you have a lot of experience in dealing with people who are having these issues.
That's right.
So just fill me in a little on sort of their mission and what they do.
American Citizens Abroad is out there to help American citizens deal with all the things of being an expat. And really the thing that's going on right now is really banking, but also voting and helping people get their Medicare, Social Security, which just because you're not in the country doesn't mean you don't get it. And even if you renounce your citizenship, you're still entitled to your Social Security. So they really help, and really with the focus so much on the FBARs and FATCA, that's really where we see a lot of their energies being dedicated because it is so complicated. There's something between 3 million and 8 million U.S. expats overseas. There's no figure for it.
I can't believe the U.S. doesn't track it. It just seems like with all their tracking.
Right?
Yeah,
I know. It's like, thank goodness,
Yes.
right? There's one thing. Well, don't give them ideas, right?
Yeah, yep. What I like about ACA as well, and again, they're not paying us, is that they also, I've seen some organizations that sort of whine about all the issues, but they don't whine about the issues. They tackle them head on. They try to find solutions, and they also work with the government and say, hey, government, this is what's going on. Is there any policies we can change?
Yeah.
How can you help us? So they're really working on changing things, not just sort of complaining about them.
Well, I do complain about things. So, yes.
I do the same.
I do it, and so I really appreciate somebody who's come up with at least part of a solution, and that's what they really have done here with the State Department Federal Credit Union.
Yep.
So I think it's a really good thing. So you want to tell people about that a little bit?
Yeah, so we sort of touched on why, but why are these expats having so many banking issues? Partly because of FATCA. It's gotten to the point where some banks actually say, oh, you're American? We don't want to do business with you.
Yeah.
The reporting requirements for these banks are outrageous and costly.
Yeah. And just a new client from Hong Kong said that his brokerage account, U.S.-based brokerage account, closed his account and forced a liquidation of his IRA. And so that's something we're dealing with right now, just because he had a foreign address. And so because he had a foreign address, a U.S. brokerage account wouldn't touch him. And because he's a U.S. person, a foreign brokerage house doesn't really want him because of all the reporting requirements of FATCA. So we don't have any solutions for that yet, but we're looking for those to see what you can do to avoid it. And I would just say briefly, I know people get addresses in Nevada, and so that might be a quick solution to avoid a forced liquidation.
Yeah, it could. Something that Charles Bruce from the ACA said is that people were twisting themselves in a knot. They were creating a U.S. LLC or stretching the truth about having a mailing address, maybe a brother-in-law that lives in California. So, he said it probably may not be the best idea. It's probably better to just have more of a straight
It absolutely is, right.
Easy, solution. We had asked him about those Nevada accounts, and he didn't think it was great. But sometimes you've got to do if they're liquidating accounts. If you're desperate,
and they're pushing you into a high tax bracket too, and so it really can be nasty, and nobody wants you. So I could see somebody doing that.
Yep. Yeah. So now what they have is it's called the SDFCU, a federally chartered credit union, very similar to a bank. Credit unions are awesome. I belong to one. 103 million members of federal credit unions in the U.S. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, it's not something fly by the seat of your pants. This is
amazing.
Legit.
Yeah.
It's easier to pay a refund from the IRS, maybe get, your Social Security into the credit union.
Yeah.
They have the same things. They have checking and savings accounts. They do loans, similar financial services as a bank. The biggest difference is that a credit union is owned by its members and is tax exempt, whereas a bank is owned by its shareholders and pays taxes. It's not owned by the U.S. government. Okay, SDFCU was created in 1935 to provide financial services to U.S. Department of State employees. So they sort of fit well together. And among other things, it's known for servicing foreign service officers and other employees of American embassies around the world, about 67,000 members. And I just see that number growing a lot. When it comes to servicing individuals in far-flung areas even, they say SDFCU is one of the smartest things to do. And you brought up a couple good points, too, about FBARs and things like that.
Oh, yeah, because it's not a foreign account. It's something that you can access when you're in a foreign country. It's pretty cool thing to have. Somebody might think you're with the State Department. Oh, hey, let's come to the front of the line there,
It's like
sir.
a Black American Express card.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And it doesn't count as a foreign account. So for an example is if you had, say $10,000 in your SDFCU, do they do a share draft or their checking account, whatever, their checking account, and you have $5,000 in whatever local account it is, you don't have an FBAR requirement. That $10,000 doesn't count to the aggregate. And if you do have much more in there, and it doesn't have to be reported on your Form 8938, that individual FATCA form. So it just avoids all of that altogether because it is a U.S.-based financial institution that does do business around the world.
It is relatively easy to get an account. We'll talk about that in just a moment. But I do want to talk about some of the questions that people may have. If they are living overseas, again, this is not a foreign account. Can I open it even if I live abroad? Yes. Are fees and loan rates the same as a credit union as those charged by banks? Because credit unions are nonprofit, they charge fees and loan rates which are generally lower than charged by banks. They pay deposit rates which are generally slightly higher than those in banks. Checking is free for this, and credit cards currently have no annual fees. Not a bad deal there. Can I do online and mobile banking? That's important. If you're living overseas, sometimes you're worried, can I access my U.S. accounts online? Absolutely. And they also do, if you look, we'll put a link to their website. They have other helpful information about mortgages, college loans, currencies. What currency are you talking about here? If you've got a non-U.S. spouse or children, can they be part of it? Lots of really great information we're going to link to below. So make sure you click and check that out. So getting an account, Anthony.
Yeah, my first thing is, but I'm not a federal employee. I can't get one. That's just the first thing when I heard about this. That was the first thing I said. This is not going to work for me. But there is a wonderful program.
Yep. So if you're already a member of ACA, great. You can just go online and get the account. We'll put the link again below. If you're not a member of ACA, basically you just have to join American Citizens Abroad. It typically costs only $70 per year, $55 if you're a senior. You can also do, I think, a one-time payment that lasts forever. You can join the SDFCU. You can even open entirely online. So you don't have to worry about going to a bank, going to a physical location. Process only takes about 10 to 15 minutes. SDFCU checks to make sure you're an ACA member first, and then your account opening process is finalized. And that ACA, after opening the door for you, is not involved in your account. So American Citizens Abroad aren't claiming to be bankers. So they're not going to be the ones taking care of your money. But it just sounds like a really great program for expats. And, we encourage people that are having banking issues to see if
to
it's
look
something.
out, and the bonus is ACA is looking out for you overseas too. They their policies, they understand how you're living, and they're trying to get some sort of organized lobby together, sort of the forgotten tribe out there. So it's a wonderful organization to belong to.
Yep. And make sure you like and subscribe to our channel because we're hoping to talk to Mr. Charles Bruce in the future about residence-based taxation, which will be a whole nother topic. But we want to thank you so much for joining us on Parental Advisory. Thanks for joining Parental Advisory, hosted by Anthony Parent, produced by Claudine Gindel, that's me, and engineered by Chris Chen. For more podcasts, visit our website at parentaladvisoryshow.com, and you can like us on Facebook to submit story ideas. We'd like to thank our sponsors, IRSMedic, the law offices of Parent and Parent, LLP, real tax attorneys for tough tax problems.